Welcome to this demonstration of Socrates Education Game. The Socrates Education Game is a unique educational software that instructs users on the Swedish ISO standards for information security. The software can be adapted to include other standards and regulations as well. The game makes it easy to learn the fundamentals of information security. The user logs into the game using individual login information. The login information can be linked to the Socrates Access Management or to the user's own Active Directory. After logging into the game, the player needs to choose a game character. The character in the background can be equipped, for example, with a business logo. The Socrates Education Game is a virtual world where the player visits different buildings to study different situations. The main building presents different situations that relate to administrative information security. The Data Center presents situations that relate to technical information security. The library can be used to look up regulations or to incorporate the user's own company's specific standards. Inside the entrance to a building, there is always a front desk area. In order to continue into the building, the player must swipe his or her entry card from inventory. This is one of the situations the player may encounter in the main office. It takes place in a conference room where someone has left sensitive information behind. Before leaving the room, the player must take appropriate action. Here are some other situations the player will encounter. Here the player needs to prevent and manage a computer virus infection. If the player doesn't handle the situation correctly, the game will show some realistic consequences, such as further spread of the virus. If the player keeps making the wrong decision, he or she will be recommended to look up the regulation in the library. Here the player needs to manage the company's network according to company guidelines. A worker is listening to web radio, which affects the performance of both the network and the worker. Here the player is visiting the cafeteria and needs to describe how information should be managed in a public environment. If the player does not do this well, the game will show how the company's competition gets a hold of the information. This situation is from the IT office. It concerns management of non-authorized equipment and confidential information. When visiting the library, there is first an overview of the different areas. For example, management systems for information security. The player can also search for specific information and get suggestions on where to find the information. By clicking on a bookshelf, the player gets to view a number of books, each representing a regulation within a selected area. It's easy to move between the different shelves. The player selects a book by simply clicking on it. Then the player can flip the pages of the book or search for specific information. The administrator of the software can easily edit and update the regulations included in the library according to need. Once the player is finished, the user status will show how well the player managed the game. The user status function also includes a link to the player's personal diploma. The diploma can be printed out. User status also keeps track of all company scores. Thank you for joining this demonstration of the Socrates Education Game.